toxic masculinity.
Okay. You said the story about Texas?
Yes, please.
Texas school under fire for Chivalry Day?
Chivalry Day.
Chivalry Day that had girls obey boys.
Obeying girls have to obey boys. I love this. I love this. I love this so much, and I'll tell you why. Well, let me read some of this first. Okay, Texas school under fire for Chivalry Day that had girls obeying boys. I love that. A Texas school is under fire after organized rules of Chivalry Day. Let's see here. Yeah, you guys can read along. And encouraged female students to obey any reasonable demands made of them by male classmates. According to a copy of the assignment rules posted by a Dallas Morning news reporter, the unorthodox lesson was meant to mimic medieval notions of chivalry to demonstrate how courtly love carries over into the modern day. Female students were encouraged to address all men with a lowered head and curtsy, and encouraged not to whine or complain for the duration of the assignment. In order to win points during the exercise at Shallow Water High School in Lubbock, female students were told not to show intellectual superiority if it would offend the men around them, according to the tweet. Male students were also reportedly given advisories, including referring to girls as "milady" and showing courtly courtesy as they assist ladies who may have dropped an article by picking it up for them, according to a subsequent tweet. Boys were also told not to use vulgarity or complain, and to rise when females entered or exited a room. Twitter reactions varied, with some speculating that the assignment was supposed to demonstrate regressive gender roles for the period, but most respondents found the material unacceptable no matter the intent. The school eventually canceled the concept outright. This assignment has been reviewed, and despite its historical context, it does not reflect our district and community values, wrote Anita Herbert, superintendent of local district. According to Fox News, the matter has been addressed with the teacher, and the assignment was removed. That is so tragic. That is so tragic. So here's my take on this. I love this assignment. I love it when teachers will create assignments that sort of like recreate history, right? Like if you take an art class, they don't just, like, let's say you do graphic design, right? A good teacher isn't just going to put you on Photoshop and say, okay, we're going to do this, or put you on InDesign and say, this is how we're going to lay out a magazine. A really good instructor will give you a bunch of paper and some, like a Sharpie, and be like, okay, you're going to cut this out and glue it onto this paper, right? And the reason is because that's how they did it in the old days. And so you got to understand the evolution of this process and how it happened, right? When I went to school for filmmaking, they actually had us cut film on, like, physically cut film on one of these old machines. I forgot what they're called, but there were these old editing machines, and you would cut film, physically cut it, and then tape it together. That's how editing worked in the old days. You would actually take physical film, cut it, and then splice it together. And we had to do that at my school. We had to film movies, develop the film, and then cut it. They call them flatbeds, I think they called them. And
But what's the point to do that if now completely different technology, everything is easier, faster? Why would you want students to do that?
Do you really respect how easy and fast it is, though, if you don't know how hard it used to be?
But isn't it wasting time?
No, because it's sort of like...
Maybe this is why TV and movies right now are crap.
because
They
people
didn't learn how to do it well.
they do it properly. Yeah, I mean, it just gives you a kind of a... Look, everything that is digital now is based on something that existed in the real world before. So you look at the layout of how something is designed. You got to understand how it got there. Why are you doing it like that? Like, why is this? Like, if you do photography, you don't just immediately want to go into Lightroom, the program Lightroom. You want to go into a real Lightroom. You want to really develop film. You want to know, and then that'll teach you what the things in Lightroom are supposed to mimic, right? Because there is something about organic material, natural materials that gives it a kind of authenticity and helps you to understand what something is supposed to look like or what we're trying to duplicate in the digital world. And I think the same thing goes for society. Like, you should try to understand why we have the morals that we do today, why we have the ethics that we do today, why we have the ideas that we do today by going back and revisiting what has come before. And the concept of being a conservative, like the left will say, oh, conservatives like the good old days when people were racist. No, you morons. That's not what conservative is about. What conservative is about is conserving the things that are good, right? Preserving the things that are good. That doesn't exclude that doesn't exclude progressing toward things that are better, but you don't want to throw out everything in the past because some of the things in the past weren't optimal. Right? If there's a more optimal solution to something or a more optimal way of life now in some aspects, you don't want to say, well, everything historically is bad, right? Traditional values are still good. You don't throw them out because a couple hundred years ago we had a racism problem. That doesn't make any sense. It's just crazy, right? You don't say, oh, this guy's great 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 grandfather once robbed a store, therefore, he needs to go to prison. It doesn't make any sense, right? You don't try to take things from history and say some bad stuff happened, so everything in history is bad. You want to look at it. And also, I will say this. The whole concept of chivalry and courtly love and all that kind of stuff and the way people were traditionally in the past, maybe it's not something that's compatible with how we do things today 100%. But one, you don't really understand why they're not compatible unless you practice them and try them and work them out. Experimentation is practical experimentation is a beautiful way of getting a sense of something that you can't understand any other way. And so having these kids go ahead and act this out and practice these values really will get them to appreciate and understand why we do things the way we do today. And also, another thing, it may actually reveal to them ideas that have been lost that maybe they should pick up again, right? Being respectful to other people, just as a rule, is something that we just don't really do that much anymore. And I think that that's terrible. And I think that's something that we should do again. I think that's a sort of lost value of our society, a lost, just a lost way of life even. But anyway, yeah, I could go on about this forever, but the point is that this was a really good exercise. This is a really good idea. And the power of Twitter and these horrible people, like, it's funny, I read a tweet the other day that said, like, cancel culture isn't really a thing. What it is, it's just a bunch of people who recognize that this is good and this is bad, and so the people who realize that they make their voices heard, and then people change their behavior because it's like the free market. It's like your precious free market working, but it isn't actually, because it's like there's something that's popular at the store, and a very small group of angry people go to the store and they burn the store down because they don't want anybody buying that thing. That's what cancel culture is, right? So it's a very small group of people who take offense to things, and then they go and they scream and they yell and they hack websites and they do all this kind of destruction and they threaten to, whatever. They make all kinds of demands of companies and all this kind of stuff. And then companies often bend the knee to them, or, like Gina Carano getting fired, stuff like that. It's not the market. It's not, if it were most people just not buying a product. So the market is mostly distinguished by active and passive behavior, right? So, like, if I think that a company shares my values and I like their product and I like everything about them, I'm going to go buy their stuff. But if I think a company does not share my values and I don't like their products and stuff like that, then I'm not going to buy their stuff, right? The active behavior is buying, the passive behavior is not buying. And so the way the market should work is that if a ton of people are buying the product, that company does well. If a ton of people are ignoring the company because they don't like them, then the company does poorly. But that's not how it works anymore. Now, with cancel culture, people are actively attacking the company. So it's not the free market working as it should. This is a very different thing. And, wow, I really kind of got off on a tangent there. But don't you nod smugly to me, woman. We may have to do that courtly chivalric exercise from that classroom. But yeah, look. It's important to recognize the values of the past and to look, to experiment with that stuff. And I think that students are at a perfect age to learn about that stuff, and this idea that we're not allowed to do these things. Oh, yeah, that's why I brought up the cancel culture thing, because this was canceled because of Twitter, basically. This one became popular on Twitter, and everybody heard about it, and it got canceled. And it's just so sad, because this is such a good thing. And this teacher who did that, I don't know who you are, but you are awesome. Somebody get word to this teacher in Lubbock, Texas, that Mr. Reagan likes them. This was a brilliant idea. Whether or not they're a leftist or a conservative, whether or not they were trying to teach these kids that old-fashioned values are bad, or that they were trying to teach them old-fashioned values are good, I don't care. I just think it's a good thing for kids to practice history, to actually practice history. Listen to music from history. Read books from history. Practice the values, historical values for a little while. I think that stuff is amazing. Anyway, I've talked way too much. Valeria, please say something.
Okay, next topic.
No, I want you to comment.
We don't have time.
I want you to comment on this.
I do not have time to talk because you are talking too much. Okay, next topic.
I know I'm talking too much, but I do want you to come on. Dude, what are your thoughts on this school and this exercise that they're doing?
Well, I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually great.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I didn't know that. We didn't talk about this before the show.
No, we didn't.
So you really think it's great? You're not just trying to be nice?
I think it's
great. Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
I think they don't say the name of the teacher to protect the teacher.
Maybe. Look, the left should not be controlling what everybody does in the world. People, this is ruining.
They're trying.
Of course, they're trying to, but this ruins stuff like scientific investigation. How can we have scientific investigation if we're not allowed to talk about, say, like race and IQ? Oh, we're not allowed to say different races have different IQ.
Because science is racist.
Science is racist, exactly.
Okay, next topic.
All right, fine. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic.
Supreme Court sides with Biden, dismisses Trump administration's pending sanctuary city cases.
Yeah, this is our last story of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. All right, let me switch to our desktop mode so we can all look at this story. Okay, Supreme Court sides with Biden. I didn't actually read this story yet, but just the headline pisses me off. All right, let's have a look here. In a move that reaffirms President Biden's open borders immigration policy, the U.S. Supreme Court has dismissed 3 pending requests brought by sanctuary states to hear challenges to the Trump administration's order that withheld federal tax dollars from those jurisdictions. Wait, what? Dismissed 3 pending requests brought by the sanctuary states? Huh. To hear challenges. Okay. The SCOTUS blog, an online organization that tracks the actions of the Supreme Court, tweeted, after a request from the Biden administration yesterday, the Supreme Court just dismissed 3 pending cert positions, request to hear a case about the Trump administration's effort to withhold money from so-called sanctuary cities. I wonder what that's about. Let's have a look. Okay, so in an executive order 2017, the then President Trump, called on U.S. agencies, both law enforcement and otherwise, to withhold federal funds from sanctuary jurisdictions. The overwhelming majority of these jurisdictions are governed by Democrats. Mr. Trump's policy made federal taxpayer dollars to state and local governments conditional on whether or not they cooperated with U.S. immigration officials on the execution of their duties as mandated by federal law, which makes total sense. Go ahead and follow the law and do your job in law enforcement according to the federal standards that we, have applied, or else you're not going to get federal money. That makes total sense. Prior to bringing their actions before the high court, lawyers from several sanctuary jurisdictions found the lower court divided on whether Mr. Trump's policy was lawful. Upon entering office, Joe Biden unleashed a flurry of executive orders reversing Trump's policies. His policy regarding sanctuary jurisdictions, that's right. His policy regarding sanctuary jurisdictions was one of them, and that is shameful. That is shameful. That is absolutely shameful. Flipping Biden, honestly, he didn't even know what he was doing. Somebody just put a piece of paper in front of him and said, sign this, and Biden went, he didn't know what the hell he was doing.
No, he didn't know.
And this is terrible. This is terrible.
He was reading because when I guess people asked, what did you sign?
Yeah.
And he was reading notes from the paper. He was like, well, I signed, start reading. So embarrassing.
Yeah. We have a president who doesn't know what he's doing, ladies and gentlemen.
He doesn't do anything. It's been like 2 months. He's not going anywhere. No.
Have you ever noticed that he has these strings tied to his hands, and when he moves, he does this? And when he moves his mouth, there's like a stick?
That's what you just said. It's going to be debunked.
Biden is not actually a puppet. He is not made of felt.
AOC is not a puppet. It's not actually. You remember
He's not made of string and wood. Yeah. He's an actual real boy. All right, let's see here. Okay. President Biden's decision to revoke Mr. Trump's sanctuary jurisdiction and order. Oh my God. Mr. Trump's sanctuary jurisdiction order rendered the issue moot, and the Department of Justice filed request letters with the Supreme Court in all the cases related to the matter, seeking their dismissal. So they're just dismissing cases not because they think that they're invalid or they shouldn't be looking at them, but because they don't make any difference anymore, because Joe Biden has already fixed it for Democrats, so they don't have to be sad about this stuff. Anyway, I'm pissed off because Joe Biden's disgusting administration has basically set up this country to be, look, when Trump was in office, things were getting better and better and better. Then COVID hit. It's a speed bump, right? We hit a bit of a divot, you might say, a bit of a pothole. We got a problem where more people are going to be homeless. There was going to be more bankruptcies. There was going to be more problems. We would have been able to shoot right back out of it had Trump remained president. But now Biden's president, and he's like, oh, no. We don't want any improvement in quality of life. We don't want Americans to be successful financially. We want to screw everybody. You know who we want to help? Poor immigrants and potentially criminals coming over the border. We want to help them out. Oh,
because
that's
they
great,
need
Joe
more
Biden.
Democratic voters.
They are willing to reduce our quality of life. They are willing to reduce our financial success. They are willing to say not America first, but everywhere else first, just so that they can stay in power. They're disgusting. They are America last. They are not patriotic. They are not good people. They are selfish a-holes, every single one of them. They're criminals. Do not vote Democrat. Democrats are criminals. I think we're done with the news today.
Yeah, we can take some questions, guys.
All right, we will take some questions.
If anybody's wondering why there's no cat on the background meowing like crazy, he is sleeping peacefully.
Yeah. Oh, we got him to
And
sleep.
he is looking so cute that I want to just run and wake him up.
You are willing to bring him and put him here on the...
I don't think he's gonna sleep there.
Oh,
but-
you want to bring him over there? You're perfectly at liberty to do that. I'll field the questions if you want.
I will bring him in the end of the
All right.
to finish podcast.
All right. What do we got? Trump won. I can't read that on the air. But the not so legitimate win, the puppet the Biden is controlled, and he doesn't mind. He has no mind. This is from Jesus is God. Well, that's right. Yeah, Biden doesn't do anything. Biden does nothing. Biden sleeps in. Asks Dr. Jill what time it is, and just waits for, his supper at 4 p.m. and then goes back to bed. I mean, Joe Biden doesn't do anything. He's not really president. It's sad. Let's see here. Aston Cam. Yeah, we should get an Aston Cam. That's not going to work most of the time. You drugged him. Wildcat Demon says you drugged him. Mark in Alberta writes, how long until chess gets canceled for being racist or transphobic?
I think it was already canceled once because White
was a story about that,
going
yeah.
first. That's
Yeah,
racist.
there was a
because-
story about that. Somebody had mentioned it. It is a funny, like, it's one of those things where you just know eventually somebody's going to talk about it. And it does get brought up sometimes. There was a thing, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago or something like that, where somebody had suggested that chess was racist because white went first.
Well, I think there are some rules when black go first.
Are
Because
there?
because I was watching a Queen's Gambit TV show,
Yeah.
and at some point you can go first if you have black, but there's like certain rules. I don't know, it's complicated for me,
Yeah.
but it's interesting.
Black goes first. Only if you in South Africa. Only in South African rules they call it. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. Holly Burnside 83 wrote, the Senate made them read the HR 1 bill for like 12 hours yesterday. It was hilarious. Yeah, I heard about that, but I also heard that only one senator was necessary to sit through it, and so they only had like one sacrificial senator to sit through it, which is, it's pretty sad for that guy, whoever it is. But Salty JD Coke says, imagine, if you will, a logo with a ring in the middle with Aston. Feet his meow. Okay, Salty JD Coke, what you wrote doesn't make enough sense for me to read that in my in my Twilight Zone voice. Imagine, if you will, a logo with a ring in the middle with Aston. Feet his meow. Featuring his meow, maybe. I don't know. So he's okay. I get it. It took me a second. He wants me to make the MGM logo with the lion, you
Ah,
know,
okay.
but with Aston going meow.
Nah.
But they did that, I think. If they did that, that's actually a logo from, I think, Mary Tyler Moore. Mary Tyler Moore had a production company, and she produced the show. She produced the show Remington Steele. And if you watch old episodes of Remington Steele, which I highly recommend, in fact, I think I'm going to start doing that. Great show. It was the show that Pierce Brosnan did before he became James Bond. At the end of those shows, it had a little MGM logo, but it was a cat. It was a little pussy cat, and it would go meow. And it would go Mary Tyler Moore. It was great. It was great. So Salty JD Coke and Mary Tyler Moore are both, great minds think alike. David Crawford writes Aston Martin. Yeah. I named him after the Aston Martin because I couldn't afford the real car. So I
Okay,
decided.
downstream asking, what do you think of Biden's China diplomacy so far?
What China diplomacy? What China diplomacy? He hasn't really done anything. He
He
said a
said
couple of.
he said he's not gonna change anything what Trump did, because like in 2019 he said, Trump said that China is gonna eat our lunch. Come on, man. And then 2020, in 2021, he's like, if we are not gonna do anything, the China is gonna eat our lunch.
He did say a
Hello.
couple more sort of like tough things, tough words. He sounds like he's trying to get tough on China, but it's hard to know exactly what's going on because you can't accept anything that Biden said during his campaign as the truth of what he's going to do because, well, first of all, Biden doesn't actually control his campaign. Biden's actually not controlling the office of the presidency. Biden is just a figurehead, and I don't really know who's running things. I think it's a combination of people. I think Susan Rice has a lot of power. I think Hillary Clinton is stirring the pot in some way. I don't think Obama has anything to do with it, but I still haven't researched that, so don't take my word on it. But a lot of you guys think Obama's in charge. I don't actually think that. But that may be true. But I'm still looking into who exactly controls. I think probably Janet Yellen probably has a lot of influence. It's a lot of women. There are a lot of women that are now in control of things. And I don't know if I don't think that they're actually the end point. I don't think that they're the final voice. I think that there are people beyond that are basically influencing them, and then they're controlling everything. But I'm trying to work out who's exactly pulling the strings, who's in charge there. But come on, man. We all know, we all know that Joe Biden isn't calling the shots. Somebody wrote that HR1 is a terrible bill. I'm actually doing a video on HR1. I should have done it a long time ago, but I was caught up on these other stories. HR1 is absolutely devastating. Is going to make it basically all the things that I said that they were going to do just to keep Republicans from winning for the next 50 years in any federal election. That's what HR1 is. That's their attempt to stop. They're going to solidify all the kind of shady stuff that they did in the 2020 election. They're going to standardize that so that they can win over and over and over again for years and years and years. Let's see here. Biden is a potato. Potato Pinocchio, says Mark in Alberta. Let's see. Otaku Magnet's back. He says, I don't think it's Hillary or Rice. It is women, but I think they are DNC unelected leadership. Now, there are other people involved. Those are just a couple of names that I listed, but I'll give you a full breakdown soon. I'm really going to do a deep dive into who controls Biden, and I'll have something pretty definitive for you guys. I don't know if I'm going to come to the end-all answer of it, but I will have something fairly definitive to tell you who influences him and exactly how. D. Grism says HR1 is a setup for an oligarchy. Yeah, basically, yeah. Boxy Punk Chick writes, David, I think he felt like he had no support. He was blocked by those who betrayed him from hearing the voices that supported him. Okay, well, I'm not David, so I don't know who she's talking about or what she's talking about. Let's let's see here. Anything that you've seen that you like? Well, what time do we have? It's 7:07. So I guess it's about time to wrap up anyway.
Yeah.
Well, let's finish on one more question, shall we? Or one more statement. Okay, here we go. QAna Hurt writes, it is possible that the reason that people don't see Biden in public close up is because what you do see of him is a deep fake video. Oh, that's a question mark. No, I don't think that that's true. I think that what you see of him is legit. I mean, did you see him the other day? He was talking to Nancy Pelosi, and then they said, he goes, and if you have any questions, Nancy Pelosi, I can maybe answer those. And,
Yeah.
just my cat just jumped. Do you want to bring the cat onto the screen for the last segment? All right, so Valeria is going to pick up the cat and bring him onto the screen here. Yeah, Holly Burnside 83 says Obama's still pulling the strings. All right, there we go. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. How are you? Uh-oh, you want to say hi? There you go. So that's our cat, Aston. He's a Bengal, silver Bengal, and he cost way too much money. But I'm allergic to normal cats, so it was either Aston or it was no cat at all. So we got Aston. We didn't want to get a dog because I don't know. I think dogs in small apartments is kind of a bad idea. She still wants a tiny dog. All right, well, that is it for us. Do you want to say goodbye, darling?
Yes. Good night and see you on Monday.
Oh, yeah, you got that.
I didn't want to mess up
me
at
up.
this part.
All right, well, yeah, that's it for us. We'll see you guys on Monday. I'm Toxic. She's Masculine. Together, we are Toxic Masculinity. Good night. Toxic Masculinity. Weekdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.